Yeti. How are you? Hope you're fine. This is the Shy Yeti Show.
Okay, where you go?
Why have I got horns?
Oh no.
Oh, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Oh, there's going to be some drama ahead.
All I wanted was a pie, and then I hatched out of an egg.
Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep? Is it deep?
Boy, he's not all that shy is right. Gee.
Blimey, Governor, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Oh my goodness.
Hello, Paul.
Quack, quack, quack.
I don't know how he does it.
Excellent.
712 741
The gentle.
Bonjour et bienvenue au podcast The Shy Life.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Shy Life Podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti. How are you doing? I'm all right. So, what's this episode going to be about? Well, it's another musical episode, and it sees the return of our old friend Adam from Foul Monkeys, here again to talk about, mostly recent music that we're listening to at the moment, although we're focusing on sort of, I guess, the second half of 2023. We really wanted to do this a little bit earlier than we have done, but because of all my birthday type things, and Adam's had a busy few months as well, so yeah, we're a little bit behind. But last time he was on the show in the spring of 2023, we spent the episode discussing all sorts of singles that had come out in the early months of the year. But this time, we've also got the Kylie album to discuss, as we're both big fans. But then, yeah, we whiz through some other tracks as well that we were listening to. So, okay, let's run that theme music. When we come back, Adam will be here.
Darling, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Keep it rolling, keep it rolling.
Yeah, but it's a positive thing, Paul. The High Life, the Shy Life.
I'll go anywhere for a potato.
Delicious.
Hello, campers. How are you?
Oh, yippee.
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh, I hope he hasn't found out my secret. I think he has.
I love the Yeti test. It's my favorite thing.
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Yeah, I'm strangely drawn to Yeti Uncle John's ankles as well.
I could eat my body weight in crisps.
Has anyone seen my hot sausage?
It's all gooey and meaty and yum, 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 yum.
I don't think I'm ready to speak about it.
Here comes the grizzly.
Hi there.
It's the Shy Life Podcast.
I can't wait for it to begin.
I like that, yeah.
Marvellous, Paul.
Oh dear, I can't believe that old bag is still around.
Hey, Adam, you're back on the show. How are you doing?
Oh, well, I'm all right. A little bit cold here in Chicago, but pretty good otherwise. How are you?
Oh yeah, it's a little bit cold, but not to that level. We haven't got snow or anything, but yeah, it's good to have you back because it's been, well, we talked early-ish probably about April time. There'd been some songs out in 2023 that we were liking,
Yes.
but we were looking ahead to the fact that Kylie was about to release her album in the autumn, which she did.
Yes.
I suppose we should start there, really. It means jumping a little bit ahead, and I'm sure we want to talk about some of the other music that we liked in the second half or so of 2023. But we really should discuss the main event straight out the door, I think.
Of course.
So, Tension. Should we go back to the singles before even the album? Do you remember where you were when you first heard Padam Padam?
Yes. No, I was at home, and I had. She does the little. I think with almost every lead single, she's done like that little instrumental snippet, like with a coming soon sort of video. Which there's been a couple of singles where it's made me nervous. I recall mostly All the Lovers when she did it with All the Lovers, and it was just kind of like the little bit of instrumental before the bridge. I got very nervous because I wasn't sure what it was going to be like, and then I ended up loving it. And then she did that for Padam, and I also was not a huge fan of just the little instrumental snippet. And I
think it might be right to say that maybe I was more enthusiastic about Padam, and you were more enthusiastic about Tension, and I was a bit nervous about Tension.
Yes.
But then were you anywhere unusual? I find that, I don't know, it might just be me. There's some songs I can kind of tell you, oh yeah, I was there when I first heard it. First time I heard that song, I was here. And were you somewhere? It's like the JFK moment, except that not as tragic by anything. But do you remember where you were when Padam came out?
Not the first time I heard it, but I remember specifically the first time I heard it in public.
Yeah.
Which was very exciting for me. I'm always excited to hear Kylie in public in America.
Yeah.
Because for years it was so rare, and it's more and more becoming a thing. And there's a bar / like nightclub sort of thing very close to my house that has alternating kind of like one artist sort of like diva nights every Sunday, and they have an all Kylie night. So it's become more and more prevalent. But anyway, I digress. I live in the Swedish neighborhood of Chicago, and there's a big event every May. Oh my God, Midsummer Fest. I'm like, it's a horror movie, but they have a midsummer event. And one of the DJs, they have all of these stages and people perform. Actually, you'd love it. There's an ABBA tribute band, and they're very good. But I heard it out, and that was probably the catalyst for me actually starting to love Padam.
I can tell where I was. I was in Euston Station in London because of various aches and pains. I don't go travelling around like I used to, but I had got a weekend planned where I was going to see a friend in Stoke. And somebody I'd known for 10 years but never met in person, and he'd invited me up we were going to have a big film weekend of watching. We watched loads of horror films, and he was on the show. But because I was travelling from my parents, so I had to do Salisbury to London, across London to Euston. I was always travelling around back in the day, but because I haven't done it so much, I left so much time that I must have arrived at Euston with 2 hours to spare. But it was really busy, and I didn't even go and get a coffee. I just thought, oh, there's a seat, I'm going to sit. Also, didn't the video come out the same day as I'd heard the song, and then the video came out about half an hour before I was actually going to get my train. So I really was in a situation where I could give it my full attention because I just arrived far too early, and so I was sitting in Euston Station and was able to listen to it multiple times, and I was able to watch the video on my iPhone. But I was able, and that's fine. Yeah, that's really stuck with me. When Kiss Me Once came out, I was in Venice. I was by myself because the friend I was going to go with had to cancel. But I still went. So again, I had the whole week or whatever it was, 3 or 4 day long weekend when Kiss Me Once came out, and I could just wander around Venice listening to that and really getting into it. Some of the other albums, I couldn't really tell you where I was, what I was doing. That there was no particular special. I remember listening to Fever after I had a breakup, and listening to that. That was a bit of a sort of crutch to lean on after the breakup. So, but I couldn't tell you some of the ones in between. But yeah, it's funny how some music you just happen to be in a place and it sticks, and others you couldn't. I mean, this could be a whole episode, but when ABBA's new material came out, I was having a really bad time at work, which led to me leaving work in the end. But I kind of almost didn't care what was happening at work, which sounds really bad because responsibilities. But
right.
There was new ABBA material out. It was like being covered in stardust. Any negativity only got so far,
right.
Because sometimes music's like a little talisman. You can sort of like, no, sorry, Bust, you're not going to bum me over now. If you come and you hit me, it'll bounce off me today because there's some new Kylie album out. Actually, I'm not going to put that in practice, but who knows? So yeah, Padam so well over here.
Yeah.
Because it came in within it was about 23 or 24 or something when it came in, which was still amazing for. And then it sort of each week it would snake up a bit higher, and then I think it got in the top 10, and then maybe went back a little bit, and then came back in again.
Yeah.
I can't remember when it came back in again, whether it went even higher or whether it just came back in a wee bit. It was around for such a long time, really.
Yeah. I do remember where I was when I listened to the whole album, because I was actually I was at the gym and I was messaging you, and I basically, it was almost like every song I was messaging you about how I felt about it. Not to get too ahead, because I know we were going to talk about the singles and how I felt about Tension sort of being more classic Kylie than Padam, which is, I mean, like, growth. It's good that Kylie's doing different things and trying new sounds and all of that. But Tension just felt like a classic big Kylie single to me. But I listened to the whole album at the gym, and I remember you really loved Hold On To Now immediately, right?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
And I wasn't sold on that, and I don't know why in retrospect, because now that's possibly my favorite song on the album.
And I was really keen on Story as well. Hold On To Now and Story, because I was on holiday when it came out. Because it was my 50th, I just decided to try and go away for a few days. Not to a big city, because too much. I wanted to go to a small seaside area, and it was sort of late September. So I was hoping the weather was going to be better than it was, and that, I think it came out the day we were leaving. So I had train travel and I had time to listen to it, and I was a little bit sort of underwhelmed. Or there were some tracks I liked far more than others. I mean, Tension, the single, I remember being like, I just felt like it had arrived from another planet. I still think now I think it's absolutely fantastic, but I don't think there's I don't think it's like anything ever. Yeah. I just think it's just so weird. It's such a weird song. I like it more than Padam now. I just think it's just so weird and wonderfully weird, and I remember saying to you, it was like being in a sleazy gay bar or something, or a sauna or something. I just can't imagine it being played anywhere public. It just seemed so weird, and yet of course it's been. Did she play it at the Royal Albert Hall? She certainly played it live, hasn't she? But now it's respectable. But when I first heard it, I was like, it's like so like, deviant. I don't know. It's just weird, so weird, and.
See, like I said, I thought it was kind of a more classic. Do you know what it reminded me of? Actually, the closest other single I could think of, which is one of my favorites, that it kind of gave me like that sort of. You're right, like kind of like a seedy sort of sexy vibe. What Do I Have to Do? I feel similar about that song.
I can't even. Well, as I say, I can't even think what it reminds me. It's still like a little alien song sitting on the side of my. But I mean, both Padam really and Tension do feel a bit like, I don't know if this is going to work as an analogy. They're the two horns on the devil's head of Tension. The album. Oh yeah. They're the two weirdest songs. They're the two most sort of strangest sort of.
Yeah, they're very unconventional pop.
Yeah. But I mean, I can't kind of used to that, of course, being Girls Aloud fans, because you've got with Girls Aloud, you've got the really mainstream songs or cover versions, and then you've got just absolutely crazy cray songs like Graffiti My Soul or or B-sides or just two different groups really.
Even their singles are very like there's never going to be another single. Perhaps Padam is the closest, but like Biology it's like three different songs Frankenstein together, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, back to the album as a whole, the version I had the extra tracks, so I didn't necessarily listen to it in the right order. I just pressed play, and I think it probably juggled it. And I know sometimes before now, I think the same happened to me with Disco, and I ended up kind of thinking with Disco, I remember there being tracks that were extra tracks that I thought, wow, this wasn't. I'm surprised this was an extra track. I thought this was
right.
Yeah, like one of the main album tracks. The weird thing is, there is still, I don't know why, but because I listened to it on other listening devices are available, but I listen to it on Prime because that's where I get my music. I never get involved. I mean, I do have Spotify and things like that, but I don't listen to most of my music on Spotify, so I don't have those nice end-of-year lists. Yeah. I'm sure Prime does do versions of them, but for some reason, because I downloaded it from Prime, I don't know why, but it wasn't showing 10 out of 10. So
yes,
10 out of 10
that's a thing.
is sort of, I've not fully taken that on board as being part of the album now, because it was never part of the. I'm more familiar with the deluxe tracks, the extra tracks, than 10 out of 10, which was actually part of the album.
Yes.
But I don't know why that was downloading like that, or why it wasn't available to me. But
there's got to be some sort of record label thing, because, and I thought it was probably just here in the U.S., but it's not. It's like grayed out. It's not part of the album on Spotify in the U.S., but.
It's the same on Prime.
Which is very interesting. That song I thought was like just all right. I like it now in the context of the album, because I do listen to it as part of the album now. Because so here's the weird thing. It's part of the album if you look at like the deluxe edition with the bonus tracks on Spotify. But if you look at Extension, the remix repackage, it's not on there.
Which I still haven't properly listened to this to Extension, because I hadn't worked out whether I had access to that. Is it worth me? I mean, I at the time I listened to loads of extended mixes of particularly Padam Padam. There were so many versions, and I think I had versions that I preferred because eventually after a few weeks she released an extended version, and I'm not sure that was my preferred extended version because there were so many by then.
Right.
I liked one that was about 8 minutes, and I think her version is only it's extended, but it's not that. It's only 4 or so minutes. But is it worth me?
I would say yes. So the weird thing about Extension for me is that the weakest extended mixes are Padam and Tension. Like it's like they rushed those to get them out in time for the singles, I guess. But I will say Hold On to Now's extended mix is really fantastic. And I really like the Vegas High extended mix.
You're not that sold by that on first listen, Vegas High.
I was not.
I think I said it was one of the ones I like, because I think you'd heard snippets of that on the adverts that had been about her going to Vegas before the album was actually out, sort of thing. So I kind of liked the sound of. I wasn't sure if that was just for the advert, and then of course it turned out it was from that song, which makes sense. But
that has grown on me. I think, controversial opinion, I don't think people like Hands very much, and I think it's partially because she has the auto-tuned or the manipulated vocals on the intro to the song from the demo version. It's not her, but I think I can hear her. I think she re-recorded it for the extension, for the extended mix on Extension. I mean, because you can hear her now on the intro, whereas I think in the album version you couldn't.
My mum, the great, nearly 80 away, she will be by the time this comes out, the great pop reviewer. No, I sent her, sometimes I send her, 1 or 2 modern songs just so she kind of knows what I'm listening to. I don't send her anything, but I sent her, she's a Neighbours watcher, so she's aware of Kylie's work to a certain extent. I sent her a story, but she didn't like how there's some trickery going on with the vocals in that. And I didn't think it was really her singing it. That's kind of production techniques.
Yes,
I still think
yes, it
it's a
is.
really good song. But one thing I was going to ask you about, it's amazing. It's such a recent album, really, but I haven't probably listened to it for perhaps since October, because I got busy with my birthday and was doing stuff, and I was editing podcasts, and so it feels like, well, I need to get listening to it again, because I did have a habit of listening to the tracks that I really liked best of all, and there are 2 tracks now. We've got the deluxe edition, so I'm quite familiar with those, with Love Train, Just Imagine, and Somebody to Love. But I sort of struggled to hear the bonus deluxe edition extra tracks, Heavenly Body and Drum. I think I might have heard one of the 2, and then I think even one of them I didn't, because it kept focusing it towards buying it off Kylie's website, and I was like, at the time I was kind of like, I've got too much other expenditure going on. I'll wait until it's bound to turn up on YouTube. At least I want to hear it before I buy it, sort of thing.
Right.
But did you get to hear those ones eventually?
I did. And honestly, like, I forgot about those. They're not, I don't like them very much, honestly. Like, it seemed unnecessary. I don't know. I guess, no, I couldn't pick a favorite out of them, because they're kind of weak. I like that they're a little bit more experimental. I will say that. But otherwise, I don't think we needed them.
No. Of course, in Shy Life podcast world, of course, you'll be aware that I was given tickets, and miraculously ended up over there. Went to see her. Some people said it may not have been there. There was some confusion as to whether we actually saw Kylie Minogue or Miley Commode, who apparently is a very well loved drag artist version of Kylie. But personally, I swear we walked in the right door. But anyway, it was quite an experience. I was so excited I wouldn't have known the difference, and I didn't know the difference. So,
well, as long as you had fun.
I had fun, yeah. And I mean, we could talk about Kylie all episode, but I feel we ought to dip into some more of our favourites from 2023, unless there's anything that you still need to say about Kylie before we move on.
No, I will say, as I mentioned before, that I'm extremely jealous, whether it was Miley Commode or Kylie Minogue.
Yeah.
Because I feel silly being in the U.S. and not being able to go see her in Las Vegas, but it's quite pricey, and I don't know that it would be worth it. I've seen her live already.
And a funny thing, I've been to Vegas 3 times and yet never been to a show, because I never really had. I think the budget I had for the time that I had in Vegas would have been blown in one go if I'd have just gone to see one show, or unless I'm just presuming the shows are a lot more expensive than they were. And we're talking, I haven't been since about 2010, but yeah, I mean, I people watched, and more than on my first visit, my friend Nick and I, we people watched more than we spent money, and we sort of wandered around the shops and sort of did a little bit of Christmas shopping, because it was late November, early December. But anyway, I think probably around the time that we were talking, I was catching up with Tove Lo from the previous year, you see. So, but she did release a couple of I don't know if they were extra tracks, or she released Borderline, which I enjoyed, but it was all sort of mixed up with the stuff from Dirt Femme. And there was a lot of Tove Lo from the previous year ending up in my 2023, because my playlist, I decided to be sort of naughty and just allow anything that was new to me in 2023, which still meant there was a lot of 2023 sort of stuff that came out in 2023. But
yes,
things like Deep in Vogue featuring Sophie Ellis-Bextor was definitely not from 2023, but that I don't think it was, or was it? I confused. No, it ended up in my list anyway. It's weird, all the sort of the songs that I was finding last year, partly by you, but also partly because my YouTube began to notice what I was listening to and then started suggesting things to me. And I feel like I've actually turned the tide a bit, and I actually suggest songs to you. For years, it was you were the one who knew the new songs, and now I'm kind of like, oh, YouTube told me about this. I can suggest something that maybe I don't have heard of, but
I've not. 2023 was a very weird year for me personally, and I didn't listen to very much new music. The one thing that I will say that I listened to probably the most was That Feels Good by Jessie Ware.
Which I'm a bit behind on, so I don't know why. I know some singles, but you're definitely the expert on that one, album wise, certainly.
Yeah, it's honestly it's possibly my favorite album of 2023. That or Tension would be vying for the top spot, which I have read quite a few, end of year lists from 2023 regarding pop music, and those two are usually neck and neck for best pop release, and I'd have to agree.
I don't know if this is overlapping with anything we talked about last time, but I did find myself listening to Ava Max.
Yes,
she did that album Diamonds and Dance Floors, and Sleepwalker and Turn Off the Lights. I particularly those have ended up in my playlist. That I guess I compare them to something like Dragonette, the band called Tennis that my flatmate is very keen on. But I find it a bit. It's one of those things where my flatmate often suggests things to me and they don't pass the Yeti test. But I kind of know if they keep trying, there will be one. And a lot of Tennis I was seeing, and I was finding the videos a bit disconcerting because I felt they were almost like parodies. She almost looked like she was dressed for a parody sketch on a French and Saunders episode or something. Like that. Songs that I heard weren't in any way parody, but she didn't quite look real, or quite.
Right.
I don't know. I was having trouble, but there was one song by them called "Let's Make a Mistake Tonight," which I really liked. But it's weird. Sometimes you just got to get that song that gets you in.
Right.
I've got Pearls by Jessie Ware on my list, of course. But I've also got people like weird songs, like I think I watched the Sparks documentary that came out. So I've got the Girl Is Crying in Her Latte by Sparks because it's just silly. And I can't listen to lots of their songs at once, but I do appreciate them, and I do have sort of I do love how bizarre they are, and that they're still being bizarre. If they were ever mainstream, it was somewhere in the middle, or it was somewhere sort of maybe when they were doing the disco stuff in the late 70s. But I don't know. I'm not sure they've ever been that close to the mainstream.
That's true.
So, how much attention did you pay to Eurovision? I would imagine it would interest you at least. I mean, I liked the winner. Tattoo by Loreen.
Yes, yeah.
But I didn't. I can't remember if how I heard that song before it was even in the show, and then I didn't pay much attention to the show. But it was actually on. But that song I really liked.
Yeah. It's weird. I remember hearing that song and not realizing it was affiliated with Eurovision. So I did kind of get into Eurovision and listen to a couple of things because I was like, oh, well, if that's the winner, I probably should pay attention a little bit. But no, my thing, and I think this was Eurovision. I really liked was it 2021, maybe 2022, the Daddy Fryer is, I think, how you might pronounce it. I don't know. I don't speak any Scandinavian languages. But the band, it's Think About Things was their big song that they did, I think, for Eurovision, and they had them come back and perform. I think it's a solo guy, maybe with a band, and maybe from Iceland. Regardless, they did a cover of Hold Again by Atomic Kitten that I quite like.
Actually, I've just released an episode where we're talking about, my friend Lee and I are talking about the big hits of 2001. So Whole Again featured in that year. because it was number one in 2001. So yeah, it's all connected.
Indeed.
Because Loreen had won Eurovision before. Is that right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think she had about 10 years ago. She certainly entered. If she's not won, she certainly entered. But again, sort of YouTube when I listened to Tattoo, it recommended me a single of hers called Neon Lights, which I really liked. But it's difficult to sort of spend the time to. My mind is racing here because there's so much I want to talk about. And I know we're a little bit limited in time, but we can always come back and do more. But even so, I still want to get as much in as possible. But obviously, what's your pleasure by Jessie Ware? That's where I come into the story, or at least she comes into. Anyway, it makes me sound far too grand. But this year, or 2023 year. For some reason, The Kill by Jessie Ware ended up in my list, and I think it's probably it's in my list from the year it came out. But I just really needed that. So it's such a great song that
yes.
I just needed it in there. But I was also kind of like, I can't believe that there must be other Jessie Ware songs before What's Your Pleasure, because that wasn't like her first album by any means.
No.
I guess she's kind of sort of changed the sort of, or the music sort of evolved. And I guess What's Your Pleasure is where she really starts doing the sort of pop I like. But I did find one other song, Selfish Love from Glass House.
Yes.
And because I went back, I just listened to all of her singles, and they certainly weren't passing the Jessie test immediately. But something about Selfish Love did pass the test.
I remember when Wildest Moments came out, because that's off her first album, Devotion, and I quite liked that. And that was sort of in the sort of, there were like English soul diva sort of things happening. It was shortly after Adele got big, Duffy, and that sort of like, not necessarily retro pop, but sort of the sort of like a little bit of a 60s sort of soul thing. And Wildest Moments doesn't necessarily fit that, but I think it does sit alongside something like Chasing Pavements very well. But after that, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to her because it was middle of the road sort of R&B, which I can like, but nothing really turned me on quite until What's Your Pleasure. So I'm with you on that.
I want to race for you a few titles, and if there's anything that you want to say, or you have one of the turning stars of the 80s. One of my favorites, Belinda Carlisle, released a new single, Big Love.
Yes, I like that.
I did. Yeah, I'm not sure whether it completely passed the Jessie test, but it ended up in the playlist anyway because it was Belinda, and it was the first really sort of poppy thing she'd done in a very long time. I also listened to quite a lot. So, do you know anything about Youngblood? YUNG? Yeah, I don't know anything. Well, I kind of know a little bit about him, but I don't know. That's right. I think I heard a song of his called Tissues whilst I was playing Fortnite. Now, playing Fortnite, you used to hear songs, but they wouldn't put who it was. You'd have to get your app out and Shazam it. But I think that's changed. I think when you're driving in Fortnite now and a song comes on, it actually says who it is, which I would have almost thought that was a contractual obligation. But Tissues and The Funeral, I think I find him a bit like a sort of who did White Wedding?
Billy Idol.
Yeah, just fun and I don't know much about him though, really.
I don't either. I only know of him because of you again. Again, you're on the forefront of pop music, and I'm no longer.
I've taken the crowd.
You have.
Well, but you made me, so you made me what I am. So
I appreciate all of your assistance, and I know that the student has become the teacher.
It shouldn't be that way around, though. I'm the elder, so the elder one shouldn't become. I don't know. Pop doesn't work like that, does it? So I've got a few other people like Boy Genius. That I think I think one of my old flatmates recommended that. The song I did not expect to be in this chart, or any song by this artist, was a song called All You Need Is Greed by Shaking Stevens.
Oh, wow.
He just did an album that was just not anyway novelty. It's just a little bit country, a little bit. But it's actually like you can't really fault it. And I goes into the list mainly because I really did not expect to be putting a Shaking Stevens song into the 2023 playlist. A new track by.
That is bizarre. I didn't know Shakin' Stevens had anything out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not somebody I follow, but yeah, sort of known for like early 80s songs like This Old House and, well, often covers as well. Obviously, were covers, and no, and it was sort of topical because it was about greed and politicians being greedy, and
I'll have to listen.
It's not my usual type of music, but then I didn't expect to have a new song by the Beatles in my list either, and I'm not sure that didn't go in slightly sort of honorary entry to the. There was more PG Roxette stuff. I think I was raving about the Per Gessle Roxette stuff late last year, but there was a particular single called Incognito, which I thought was a really, really good song. And I think Helena Josefsson is one of the female vocalists he works with, and I ended up finding an album that she'd done, a solo album, and a song called Beauty, Love, Anything, which was kind of really, again, very different to what she'd been doing with Per Gessle, but it's sort of when you start exploring and sort of going from one act to another, you can find some really interesting stuff out there. Dagny was another one. I had a few songs on my list. Heartbreak in the Making. I love that song. That had a sample at the start, but it was more subtle than some. I also have got a song by Willow called Curious Furious. I think she also did a song with Youngblood. So, I mean, this is YouTube doing its sort of, you listen to this, so we might recommend you this. And I got a song by Anastasia in my list, which again didn't really think would happen. A song called Best Days, very cheesy, but I don't know, something was happening when I listened to it. So I dabbled with the Pet Shop Boys. What did you think of the Pet Shop Boys EP?
It wasn't my favorite thing that they've ever done, but I thought it wasn't terrible.
They're supposed to have got a new album coming out this year.
Oh, really?
I believe 2024 year.
I think I liked I Will Fall. I think I liked that.
Yeah, I've got that one. I got that one in the Lost Room on my list. Blur also came back, and I was a big Blur fan in the 90s. I did put the track The Narcissist on my list, but I didn't really click with anything else I heard, and I haven't really listened to the album. I did listen to some more Ina Wroldsen tracks and singles, she being the person, of course, who wrote Padam Padam.
Right.
She was worth exploring, but it does feel that, I sort of try and find 2 or 3 tracks, stick them in playlist, and then move on to the next person, because there's always more stuff to listen to. Of course, there was Jake Shears' album.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that. Voices, of course, with Kylie was great. Last Man Dancing, I enjoyed that. There was another Dagny one I liked called Same Again for Love. That was good. The thing is, she didn't seem to make videos for the singles she released, which you'd sort of get videos from behind the scenes of a video which never came out, and you'd get good. Like I didn't quite understand it. You'd also get sort of like a good, like maybe a really good cover or really catching cover for the single, and which looked like it came from a video, and unless that's changed, I don't know what the purpose of doing that would be, but I also spent quite a lot of time listening to that Bonnie McKee track Slay, and getting very excited about that, but only mainly because I was unaware that it was a song Toby knew the song from 10 years ago when it was a demo that was bouncing around the internet. I think my excitement was probably a little bit over egg, because to me it was a new song. But what about you? Are there any other songs that really sort of in the later half, in the second half of last year, that other than the Kylie and things you've mentioned already?
I don't remember if we talked about it or not, but Chapel Rowan.
No, I don't think so. No.
She had a single out, and I'm not sure when the single came out, but it was an album that I kind of like forced myself to listen to. That I really like the entire album, and I think you might like it. And I swear I would have sent it to you, but the song is called Super Graphic Ultra Modern Girl.
That does vaguely ring a bell. Maybe I listened to it, but I didn't quite pass the Yeti test on first listen. I'm not sure.
Well,
but yeah, tell me more.
I liked that a lot. Carly Rae Jepsen she tends to come out with companion albums after like a big release. So I think 2022 she had The Loneliest Time, which had the title track was a duet with Rufus Wainwright, and that's very good. But she had The Loveliest Time was the companion album, and there's a song on it called Psychedelic Switch that's very good. I was a big fan of that. I don't think I've heard it, but I've seen the title and thought, I must listen to that because the title drew me in. What about the Sophie Ellis Bextor album? How did you feel about that? Because I liked there's the one with the circle in the title. Breaking the Circle, which was the first single. But then every single that came out after that, I was a bit unmoved by. But then, I don't know if it was the third or fourth single she released, Beyond the Universe, I was back to, I really, really love this one. Yeah. Because I was a bit disappointed by the second, maybe and third singles. I haven't really given the album the time I should. Have you been able to give it a bit more attention? I did, and it's not my favorite of her more recent releases, but I would agree with you that Breaking the Circle got my attention, and then the entire album overall is a very pleasant listen, but it's not necessarily revolutionary. But I like that. Is it Beyond the Universe? Is that what it's called? Yeah. I really liked that. Beyond that, I don't know. Deep in Vogue, I actually believe that was early 2023. So I think we can keep that. And I was kind of hoping that she would stay in that vein. And she did kind of a really fun track with the latest Robbie Williams project. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. I think I may even have that on my list somewhere. Which is Lufthaus. Which I remember they had a little bit of a war of words back in the early 2000s. But they quite suit each other, I think, their voices. The song is called Immortal. That would be on my list for sure. I quite like that. I tried to make an effort to listen to some newer stuff throughout the second half of the year. And I do like parts of the Olivia Rodrigo album. I think overall it's one of the better albums of the year. But Get Him Back was one of my favorite songs. Yeah, I got really into that album. That was one of my big favorites of I didn't really know much about her really at all. And I've listened to stuff from the first album and some of the singles, but I don't really kind of click with the Driving License, which was the one that really launched her. But I didn't really get. I like the more sort of like Vampire and Bad Idea, right? I mean, some people have compared her rather unfairly to Avril Lavigne, but I think there's more influences on there. I mean, there's a track called Love Is Embarrassing where I'm hearing like obscure punk people that I mean, she does write with somebody who is older and could well sort of know those influences. I was thinking of Lena Lovitch. Lena Lovitch. There's her big song. There's definitely a little bit of that in Love Is Embarrassing, and I know we're running out of time, but I just wanted to mention I was very keen on the Metric album. That definitely goes in my top three. Formentera 2. I listened to Formentera. They released two albums within a year of each other. I much prefer the one that came out in 2023. There was just a nice mix of pop. But I've even got the Rolling Stones in here. We're talking about the Beatles. The first single from their album Hackney Diamonds, Angry, I just kind of enjoyed that. If it's a good song, I'd rather listen to I listen to the new Rolling Stones rather than listening to an old Rolling Stones song. Right. It's kind of nice to hear something that, Angry is quite a noisy track and quite an angry track. And I kind of, I've been reliably informed that album, Hackney Diamonds, is pretty fun, and Lady Gaga's on it, and it's a sort of worth hearing. Yeah. I didn't listen to it at all. I heard the single with Gaga, and I was like, this is fine. It sounds exactly what you'd think Rolling Stones and Gaga would sound like. It's nothing revolutionary. does what it says on the tin, as they say.
Yeah.
But speaking of, before we do wrap it up, one of the not necessarily a comeback, because I think they consistently have produced music, but one of the older bands that had a new album that I really liked actually was Duran Duran. I like Dance Macabre.
Yes, yeah, that was good. Very briefly, 3 or 4 more, but not in any great detail. Another of my favourites this year was Susanna Hoff's cover album, which I really enjoyed. And I listened back to the original. It's called The Deep End, and she was covering people like Squeeze. She was covering modern people, older people, and I would often listen to the original and think, no, I think she's improved it, which is rare with. But then she is the master or mistress of cover versions.
Yes, with Matthew Sweet usually.
Yeah, exactly. There were a few weird songs like Kate Pearson did a single called Every Day is Halloween.
Yes.
Which was fun. I went to my first live gig in a long time and saw an indie band I like called Teenage Fan Club. They had a new album out, but I also rediscovered some of their older stuff. Went back. I discovered a track by Blue Oyster Cult called Godzilla, which is 101 years old. But I think, again, that just popped up and I thought, well, I'll listen to this. Because it's called Godzilla, that was fun.
You know what's funny? I also discovered a Blue Oyster Cult song in 2023 out of nowhere. Also because it had an interesting title, Joan Crawford.
Okay, I'll have to listen to that. Yeah,
it's crazy.
I only really knew one Blue Oyster Cult song before this, but I listened to a bit of that Surgeon Stevens album. Javelin that everyone was talking about, but it's a little bit, sometimes he's great, but he's a little bit too quiet for me at times. But I do like the track Will Anybody Ever Love Me, and I kind of almost decided, well, that's the track I like from this, let's move on. Of course, there was the Veronicas. They had some new tracks out, Perfect, I like that. I also liked Cruising on My Own and Seeing Stars, which they did as a sort of solo project. In fact, Cruising on My Own reminded me a bit of Girls Aloud. Although other people sort of said no, and I was like, it does sound a bit like, or I can imagine Girls Aloud singing it, maybe that way round. I was a bit disappointed by the Dua Lipa single Houdini. I didn't hate it, but it was just a bit, oh, okay, first song off a potential album.
I didn't like that or Dance the Night.
No, I didn't even. I mean, I have put Houdini in my list, but I didn't like Dance the Night even enough to do that. But I'm already listening to new stuff in 2024, but we'll save that for next time. The last song I'll mention before we have to say goodbye. I was watching Top of the Pops. They did a New Year special or Christmas Day special of songs, and it was a bit different. It wasn't all studio bound. That they were cutting from something like Glastonbury to a Jules Holland clip to maybe something they had, and there was a particularly good sort of almost acoustic version of Windows by Take That, and I'm not a massive Take That fan, but now and again I'm much more of a Robbie Williams fan than I am a Take That fan, and now and again I think this is like a Coldplay song or something, or a Travis song, or
right.
They should be taken seriously as those people now. It's almost like the boy band history is such a long time ago now. There's more to them than that.
Right.
And Windows is very sort of 70s sort of bred, sort of that sort of almost classic pop. But I listened to a couple of other tracks. And no, not for me. So that'll be the Take That song that of 2023 for me. I'm looking forward to 2024. I'm not really sure what I'm looking forward to particularly. I don't know if there's anything you know about that's due out, but other than the hearing that the Pet Shop Boys and everything. But
I will say I'm not a huge Ariana Grande fan, but I really like her new single, so I am looking forward a bit to seeing what she does in 2024.
I had a little listen to that because people were talking about it on one of the pop forums I was on, and didn't get it like on first listen. But again, sometimes I'm listening to stuff and I've got 5 minutes, I've got to listen to it, and I've got to be out the door sort of thing. So it's not always the best time, and need to maybe come back and listen again. But I'm not that familiar with a lot of Ariana Grande, to be honest. I think I need to give her more time. But anyway, I know we're running out of time. So I hope you'll come back perhaps sort of April, May time, when we can start talking about some songs that will come out in 2024. And we will speak to you again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me. I'll talk to you soon.
Well, listeners, that's about all we've got time for. Thank you again to Adam for making time to speak to me. He's got 2 jobs at the moment and all sorts of other things going on. As I said to him, we could have spoken for a lot longer. But what we will do is hopefully speak to him in 3 or 4 months, a little bit further down the year, and then we can start talking about the music we've been listening to this year so far. We never really got a chance to discuss vinyl this time, because Adam is a big fan of vinyl. I don't know if he's been buying as much. I certainly haven't. Partly because in lockdown I went really sort of super intense buying loads of vinyl, partly because we were all sort of stuck inside a lot of the time, and I discovered eBay and also discovered friends who had businesses selling vinyl, and I did buy a lot. My only trouble is that I haven't had time to play a lot of them, and I've still got a lot that may not even be opened. I think I bought a couple of things last year. I definitely bought the Kylie album on vinyl, and I think I bought a Shakespeare Sister one on vinyl, or that might have even been the year before, and I still haven't opened it, you see. The problem with my record player was that when I had a portable record player, I could have it by my side whilst I was editing, say, in the living room, and then I could just pack it away neatly. Unfortunately, it couldn't cope with a lot of the vinyl, certainly the newer vinyl it struggled with. So I got a better record player, which now I'm only able to play in my bedroom, and really, I spend very little time in my bedroom. What I really need to do is have the record player set up in the front room, but I don't see that happening either. So I have thought about using my portable again, but that does limit me to which of the albums I can play, but I don't know. All the best intentions, eh? Anyway, I've waffled long enough. That is all we've got time for. I think Yeti Uncle John and Cromitty will be here in a minute to, I don't know, they want to tell me about some of the bands that they have been listening to in 2023. So I'm going to give them that opportunity. Thanks again to Adam. We look forward to having him back again soon. We've got plenty of episodes in the can, and we have so many episodes to share with you. So I'll stop talking and I'll get editing. All right? Okay, you take care. Bye for now. Bye-bye. Cromitty, yes, Uncle John. What are some of the bands that you've been listening to in 2023, or even 2024? Well, Paul, we're going to stick to 2023 because that's what your episode was about. But I'm sure by the time that you speak to Adam again, we'll have some new names for you. Good. So, where do you want to start? Well, Paul, what we will say is that some of these bands you may not have heard of. They're very obscure. Oh, really? Wow. Like what? Well, one of my favourite albums of the year was called Do Giraffes Cry Tall Tears by the Jangle Bells. Do Giraffes Cry Tall Tears by the Jangle Bells. I really don't know this band. What sort of style music do they play? Well, they're from New Zealand. They're well, I guess you could call them a beat combo, but with a sort of 2023 twist. It's their 6th album. I don't think they released any singles off it. Well, Yeti Uncle John, they did. There was one, the track "You Never Call Your Mother." Oh yes, Property, you never call your mother. I do. I always call her. Oh yes, you're very funny. Yes, sorry, I forgot that had been a single. Yeah, but they are much more of an albums band. Oh really? Okay, well I'll check out that track. And that's a catchy name for the album. Yeah, I thought so too. What else can you recommend? Well, I'm a big fan of Violent Snowmen. Violent Snowmen? Wow, that's a name I've not heard. Yes, Violent Snowmen. I followed them for many years. They're sort of a fusion of classical, hip-hop, and trip-hop, and clutter bip-bop pop. Oh, I don't know some of those later ones, but gosh, that's an interesting mix. Yes, their latest album is called Drowning Not Waving. Oh, right. And yeah, I mean, it's mainly instrumentals with a little bit of occasional sort of, I think you'd like it, some of it, because it's almost poetry. Oh, okay. And I've never heard of Violent Snowmen. How long have they been around? Oh, 20 years probably. Really? Gosh, I'm going to have to check these out. You seem to have been exploring a lot of music that I'm just not aware of. But I guess I am sort of very stuck in to sort of pop and rock and stuff. Yeti Uncle John, what would be your other choice? Well, God, you're asking me to choose here. I'm very keen on a girl band called Snakes Are Snaky. Snakes Are Snaky. That's a weird name for a band. Well, yeah, but it kind of links back to their debut single, which isn't this album. Well, not the album that I'm going to be talking about. It's the previous album. Yeah, their first single was called Snakes Are Snaky. It was part of a sort of dance they did, a very snaky dance. And a girl band, you say? Yeah. So sort of poppy, rap, R&B, pretty much pop. I think you might like them. And from, well, I never asked about Violent Snowmen, where they were from, Cromarty. Oh, they're British, yes. And what about Snakes Are Snaky? From Sweden. Oh, that makes sense. Swedes are great with pop. Yeah. Well, so the album that came out in 2023 was called XYZ. And the lead single was called Alphabet of Love. Alphabet of Love. So I can see how, that would go with the album title as well. Yeah, Alphabet of Love. Very catchy. You like that one, didn't you, Cromarty? I did. I like Snakes Are Sneaky. I had their first album, CBA. Now they're going backwards to... They do like their alphabet titles. Yes. Well, I mean, look at that Adele. She names her albums after how old she was when they came out, or something. Yes, I think that's right. Okay, so Violent Snowmen, Snakes Are Snaky, and the other band. Sorry, I'm going to have to write all these down. Yes, you jolly well will. So, sorry, Cromarty, what was your second choice? Well, it's a band called Faking a Smile, and the album is called Dead Angels. Faking a Smile, Dead Angels. Don't know this band either. And they're from where? They're American. Okay. And what sort of music? Well, I guess I'd say a little bit Avril Lavigne, a little bit Blondie. But you know how Blondie, they were pop, but they were also sort of rock, or at least rocky pop. Rocky pop, yes. And female, male, mixed. There's a female vocalist, but male backing singers. There's a guy on keyboards, a couple of girls on guitar. Yeah, there must be about 7 or 8 of them in the band. Wow. How have I not heard of these bands? Faking a Smile. Any titles of songs I should take note of? Well, I like the first single was good. It's called Debutante. That was good. But personally, I like the second single, which was called Really Rather Naive. Oh yes, I like that one. Really Rather Naive. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. I presume these singles weren't big hits. No. I don't think any of the bands we've been talking about have been like chart fodder. No, well, I guess that happens a lot these days. There is a third single due out, but I don't know. It's one of my favourite tracks on the album. It's called He'll Believe Anything. He'll Believe Anything, yes. Yes, I like that one as well. He'll Believe Anything. Okay. Well, I'm going to note these down. When I edit this episode, I'll note all these songs down and I'll, Really Rather Naive, was it? And He'll Believe Anything. Okay, I'll note them down. Well, I better go. Thanks, guys. We were slightly underrunning because Adam had to get to work. So, it's been really helpful to have a little bit of extra material with you guys and learning new bands. I mean, Adam and I know a lot of music, but there's always more. There's always more to know. And perhaps we are a little bit trapped within the genres that we like. So, yeah, I'll check those bands out. So thanks again. And we'll speak to you again another time, hopefully. Oh, thank you, Paul. Yes, I hope you enjoy listening to some of these bands. Yes, Paul, I hope you like them. I'm sure I will. Thanks again. Speak to you later. I gotta go now. Bye. Gotta go. Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Yes, goodbye.
Wow. Really? No kidding. Thank you, darling. And you too. Bye-bye.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
Oh dear. What's going on now? Oh, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Let's go.
I have a voice. I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice. We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
That is so cringe, oh my god.
You're a man of culture as well.
Oh dear. Oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it either. He actually fell for it. Even when you said the song titles were Really Rather Naive and He'll Believe Anything. Oh, yes, I know. Oh, I feel cruel, but well, it was fun making up those band names and singles with you. It was funny. I enjoyed doing that, Cromitty. I must say, I haven't had such a giggle coming up with band names and snakes are snaky. Oh yes, and faking a smile. They all sound, quite authentic, I think. Yeah, maybe we should start a band. Oh, I don't know about that. You definitely can't sing, and I can't play an instrument for toffee. Well, I don't know. I've heard you singing in the shower. Have you? I didn't know that. I think we've done quite well when we've had to do singing on the Shy Life podcast before now. Well, maybe. Snakes are snaky. Faking a smile. All the names running through my brain. Gonna have to write them. Gonna have to note them down when I do the editing. Really quite naive. That was a single. That was the fake. Was that Faking a Smile? And He'll Believe Anything. They're good song titles. I hope the lyrics are good. Yeah. What was that other one? Oh gosh, I can't remember anything these days. ABC. No, CBA. XYZ. Oh gosh, exciting. Lots of new music to listen to. Oh dear. Wait till he realises. Oh dear. I think we'll just have to hide that day. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh dear. Oh, Yeti Uncle John, we did a bad thing. We were very, very bad.
Good boy. He's not all that shy is right.
You know, when I listen to the Shy Life podcast, it makes me want to bake pies all day long. I don't know why. No. Paul's a great guy. Great guy.
Yeesh. I hope that Shy Yeti bathed today. That's all I can say.
Okay, back up, everybody. Nothing to see here. It's just another episode of the Shy Life Podcast.
701. 701. 701. 701.
How beautiful is that?
Et voilà.